Hey everybody, Andy Brady here again with Easily Amused or Kabliga 3D printing, lots of other randomness on my channel. But today I wanted to talk about 3D printing, the actual devices, which one should you get, which one should you not get, what are the benefits of each one, what steps should you take. You'll see a lot of stuff on the internet right now about, once you get an X1C carbon, there's no going back. Why even own an Ender 3 V2? And Prusa, oh, they're not innovating. They're getting lost in the dust by the X1C. So don't even attempt to get one of these. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about each device independently for my own personal usage to give you an idea of what might work for you, what might not work for you. So once I got an X1C carbon, the comments in my videos overwhelmingly were goodbye Ender. Why do you even have a video that tells you how to fix an Ender 3 V2 to make it better? Why does that video even exist anymore? That's not something people need. But I disagree. And very first and foremost thing that I think everyone should understand is this Ender 3 V2 is tuned very well. My Prusa doesn't take much tuning and it prints very well. And the Bambu, pretty much, they say out of the box, prints perfect. With some little differences, but yes, pretty much you turn it on, you upload a video, upload a file from your phone, you upload a file from the laptop, you don't even have to get out the SD card, click print, and you're kind of good to go. But there's a massive price difference, especially if you start getting the AMS or multiple AMS systems. So why choose different things? Well, for one thing, with the Ender 3 V2, it is extremely customizable. It's been around for a very long time. It is one heck of a workhorse. The ability to customize this and make it do exactly what you want it to do is practically unmatchable. I've got custom legs with squash balls to keep it from vibrating as much. I've got drawers that I invented and designed myself that go into the extruded aluminum. Filament guides that I don't really use anymore because of where I mounted my filament above. I've changed the software. I've done all kinds of stuff on here. Why? Well, the number one reason is if I were to print a standard Benchy from all three of these devices and you handed it to people who know 3D printing and they've recorded all kinds of videos about what you should have and shouldn't have, I'd be hard pressed to believe that they could identify which device printed which thing. So while the Ender is the slowest of the three printers, Prusa being the next fastest, and Bambu being, lightning fast, there are benefits and there's downsides to all of them. The biggest benefit to the Ender 3 V2 is it still works very, very well. It with a little bit of tuning, with a little bit of learning, a little bit of know-how, which I think is beneficial to everyone. The first time something went wrong with my Bambu, I'd have been up a creek without a paddle if I hadn't experienced that on the Ender and gotten comfortable with tuning and working on a printer. But more importantly, you can find these on Facebook Marketplace, last I checked, for around $100 to $125. With upgrades already done to them, with BL Touch auto leveling already done to it, with all metal extruders already done to it, because people are getting a Bambu and they're saying I only need one printer, and so they're getting rid of the old one. The number one reason I think that's a major mistake is, for one thing, if you sell an Ender 3 V2 for $150, $100, $125, whatever, it's barely a dent in the cost of getting yourself a new Bambu. Having two printers is faster than having one printer most of the time. And what I find myself doing, and the reason that I keep so many different printers, is I'll find myself using the Bambu whenever I am prototyping, whenever I'm designing something myself. You can check out my printables page. I'll put a link at the bottom. I like to design stuff myself, mostly utilitarian stuff, but I will end up doing a lot of prototyping on here, where I might only print, 10 millimeters of the thing that I want to use, to see about sizing, shaping, fitting. And in the background, the entire time, I might have my Revo nozzle in here with the 0.8 millimeter, printing a large vase for my wife, or printing that the bear that holds the bottle of wine for my wife. And at the same time, I might be printing my PETG on my Prusa. I feel that it prints PETG better. I feel like the prints come out smoother, cleaner with PETG. I have zero issues here. So with the hardened steel nozzle, I have just kind of stuck with all my PETG on this device, unless it's something I need immediately, which in the grand scheme of things, in the world of 3D printing, while it's great to have something fast, 3D printing is not typically about speed. It's not typically about getting something quickly. It's about the ability to get something that you need or you want, whether you designed it yourself or you downloaded it, and getting it printed. So if you find yourself, let's say it's 10 o'clock at night, and I'm going to be at work the next morning, and I don't actually need my 3D print until 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I line up all three of these in a slicer, and I print them, and they will all three be done before I get home from work. Then at that point, does it really matter how fast the 3D printer prints? No. So, for when it comes to speed, I personally am not that interested in the different devices and what makes them better or worse based on speed alone. For me, the reason that the X1C Carbon has become my go-to is simply because of its internet accessibility, the ability to upload a file straight from your phone that's already pre-sliced and have it go. I love the AMS, having the 4 different colors in there. I can swap them out anytime. I can program it in there. I can pull up my laptop while I'm at work, and I can say, oh, you know what, I forgot to print this, or, I didn't even think about printing this, or why don't I print this? Click print, and it goes. Whereas with my Ender and with my Prusa, I still got to get the memory card out, still got to get it into my computer, still got to put the print file. What a whiny complaint, I know. But if I'm at work, very, very large distance, I can't remote print without doing a lot of extra work, a lot of extra software, a lot of extra technology that I'm just not interested in getting into. So for me, I end up using these other two less often because it's an inconvenience to get to the room where I have built my 3D print enclosure and my large filament drying tent. You can check out my other videos to find out information on those. But for the most part, if you are new to 3D printing, if you are just getting into it, I would say a lot of it depends on patience level. How patient are you, and how much do you want to learn about the technology? Or are you looking for an inkjet printer? Do you just want to click print, get a print off of there, and be happy with it? And then the one day that something goes wrong, all hell breaks loose, and hopefully you figured out the solution. Or is the actual printing going to be part of the hobby as well? Because I feel like if I had started off with the Bambu, there's so much stuff I would have never learned. I would have never learned how leveling works. Grab my woodworking level and, throw it up on this bed and tell me that's leveling the bed. When I first got it, a lot of people think that. I didn't, but a lot of people think that. So you learn a lot of that stuff with one of these, and you can get them so cheap on Facebook right now. The MK4 has been released by Prusa, and it is better. It is faster. In fact, I want one, even though I've got a Bambu, right? So why would I want one if I've already got a Bambu? Again, this is such a good workhorse. It works so well. But people they're getting rid of them. They're switching. They're getting the Carbon, they're getting a different Bambu, or they're getting the MK4 or the Plus, or the extra large. Which means that printers like this one and this one can be gotten much cheaper than they ever could have been bought just a couple of years ago. So the barrier to entry in 3D printing has gotten much lower whenever it comes to cost to acquire a printer and to get into the industry. So if you're thinking about getting into the business, or not into the business, if you're thinking about getting into 3D printing, you're thinking about, embarking on this quest, I would say start with something cheap. Not necessarily the easiest, but I would say start with something cheap where you're going to learn how the stepper motors work. You're going to learn how the leveling works. You're going to learn how the first layer adhesion works. You're going to learn so much more from this than you ever would have from here. If you have zero patience and what you're wanting is to just click print on printables.com, on whatever the new ones are, and it just comes out working 99% of the time, maybe something like the X1C Carbon is up your alley. But I can tell you this still has problems. This still has minor repairs. It still has minor issues. And when you spend as much as one of these devices cost, and you've never taken apart a $100 machine, you're much less likely, in my opinion, to just start ripping pieces and parts off of here to fix what goes wrong. And I've had to fix quite a few things on here. I've had Bowden tubes just completely split and explode on me. I've had the whole front end pop off. I've had the big blob spaghetti monsters that weren't detected by the LiDAR and the cameras. So I I come back to the fact that I'm so thankful that I started off on the Ender 3 V2, even though whenever I first was buying a 3D printer years ago, this one was new and everyone was telling me, you're crazy, just spend the money and get a Prusa. And the day that I upgraded from the Ender to the Prusa, oh, I was so happy. I was ecstatic. And the day that I upgraded to the Carbon from the Prusa, again, I was ecstatic. I was very happy. But they all have their strengths and they all have their weaknesses. For example, the Z alignment, or the alignment on the seam on the Bambu tends to be terrible. The overhangs, even with some of the other scripts, downloaded other people's things and tried them out, I have found that things that I print on the Prusa quite often when they have overhangs look significantly better than they do on the Bambu. There's a product that I print and I sell locally, and whenever I print it here, it's beautiful. Here, it's unusable. So I print them all on this. In fact, I've actually had better luck printing it on the Ender 3 V2 that I've tuned up. And I know a lot of people in the comments are going to say, you can tune up the Carbon, you can get it there. But my point before was, if you wanted something that was plug in, play, go, and it works every single time, then this was your ticket. But now I'm telling you reasons that maybe it isn't your ticket. Prusa is amazing. They really are just fantastic devices. They work really well. They print really well right out of the box. It takes very little effort to put it together. If you buy the pre-put together kit, minutes later you'll be ready to print your first spool. And it's fantastic. It works really well. I've actually had less issues with this than I have with the Bambu, and less issues with this by far than I have with the Ender 3 V2. But the issues that I've had with the V2 have taught me how to fix everything else. So I'm not going to tell anyone, this is a device you should get. This is the printer you need. This is the one that's going to solve all of your problems. I would say that you should really think to yourself, am I patient? Because if you're not, the Carbon might be the way to go. Are you semi-patient and you want to learn how to build these things? You want to learn how to work on them. Perhaps buying a used Prusa off of Facebook Marketplace would be the way to go. If you're thinking, I'm extremely patient and I want to learn how to do all of this stuff, maybe one day I want to build my own. Maybe I want to take my Ender 3 V2 and turn it into an Ender extender that's got a 400 by 400 by 400 build plate for less than it would cost to buy this Carbon, which is significantly smaller after that extension, of course. Find one of these on Facebook Marketplace, and if you buy it for $100 and you don't like it, you can probably sell it for $100. Give it a try. Don't let the snobs, and I catch myself being one quite often, don't let the snobs of the 3D printing world convince you that if you don't spend, yourself out of house and home, if you don't have to eat beans and rice every single day for the next 2 months because you bought this, then you did the wrong thing. Don't fall trap to that. If you get into 3D printing, you can make those steps. You can upgrade to them, and if you were able to buy it for $100, you'll be able to sell it for $100. If you're able to buy it for $400, you'll probably be able to sell it for $400. That is where I would start. Absolutely, still to this day, even knowing that the Carbon exists, I've had friends that have bought the Ender. They've been absolutely impatient with it, and they've gotten rid of it. They've asked me to fix it over and over again, and I have. They've asked me to teach them over and over again, and I have. And then if they had gotten the Carbon, they probably still would be 3D printing. But I can also tell you that those same people would just be searching printables.com, hoping to find something that they found relevant to print. And if that's what you're really doing with 3D printing, then the cost of this device will never be justified. It's hard to justify the cost of a device this expensive saving 50 cents at a time, right? If your goal is to print golf tees and you're saving a half of a penny per tee, you're probably not even saving money. But if you were, how long is it going to take to pay for this thing? So think it through, have that process, figure out what it is you're trying to accomplish. Are you looking to get into the sport of 3D printing? Are you trying to learn everything about it? You want to design your own stuff. You want to print your own stuff. Take it one direction. You want to be able to just click print, have it go, and the day that it doesn't work, you'll find somebody to help you. You got a buddy that'll help you. Maybe the Carbon is right for you. It is beating a dead horse by now, and I've been asked so many times. That's the only reason that I made this video. It's a one and done, one shot, recorded it, putting it out there. Most people probably won't find it that useful, but the idea again that you only need one printer, and once you have one, you're done. I find it absurd because you'll want to print more than one thing, or you'll have something that has 7 or 8 parts, or you'll have something that's going to take 20 hours here, 36 hours here. You don't need it for 3 days, but you've got 5 other things you want to print. Well, get out your old trustworthy $100 and something printer that you bought off Facebook Marketplace. Start that print that takes 36, 46 hours, and then print all your small prints with this. So they all have their uses, they all have their time, and there is no right or wrong answer. And if you're willing to learn, then all 3 of these are fantastic options for you. And yes, there are newer versions, but the reason that I specifically wanted to talk about the Ender 3 V2 and the MK3 Plus is because they are older, they are able to be bought much cheaper than they were able to be bought brand new. Somebody will have already assembled them. If they've got it already working, then there's probably not that much that you have to do to get it working right for you. So, leave me some comments. Let me know what you think. Am I completely off base? Are you in the crowd that says once you get a Bambu, there's no going back? You don't ever need another device, buy 6 of them, and that's the proper way to 3D print? Are you more in the crowd of, Prusa because, it gives you the ability to edit, similar to the Ender does, but it is just such a much more reliable device. If you're in that crowd, let me know. Or are you one of these people, like me, that actually have 3 different Ender 3 V2s and use them all quite often and value them just as much as I value my Bambu? Are you in that crowd where this is still a very useful device, still something that somebody who's new can get into, can learn how to use, and really start understanding 3D printing before they jump so far in? Hate to say it, but if you're watching this and you're already a 3D printer, are you really a 3D printing person if you haven't leveled a bed with a piece of paper? I would venture to say no. If you've never leveled a printer with a piece of paper, do you really know 3D printing? So like and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments, and check for my other videos. You can see how I build the enclosure, see how I built the filament enclosure, and we can go from there. Everyone have a good one.